VA. So we have a weekly one-on-one with each of the VAs as well. My wife does it these days about 90% of the time. I'll do it 10%, but it's great. And I have the same series of about 12 questions we ask every week. And you would think same series of 12 questions is going to get really monotonous. But it doesn't. Like the conversations flow like conversation, or the questions flow like conversation. And it starts off with one of the most important questions. It's really asking, hey, how are you doing? And because if they're not aligned, if there's something going wrong in their family or their health or going on there, then nothing else matters, right? That's the one question we'll dig into the whole time, is just how can I support you because you're struggling right now.
You're asking yourself, why am I doing this?
Smart people would know how to use all these different tools.
You start with something small.
You'll never get your entire organization if you don't pull off operations. Don't give up.
It can be as small as that.
I think you guys are going to have our last today.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Delegate That podcast, where we discuss the art and science of delegation, business management, and leadership. I am your host, 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝗆𝗃, and today I am stoked to have a great conversation with Ken Wimberly. Ken, we were talking right before we started recording that it's been way too long since we had some conversation, so I'm looking forward to kind of catching up here. But in the meantime, Ken, if you can, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your businesses.
Well, Adam, thanks for having me. I really appreciate this. Looking forward to the conversation. So I'm Ken Wimberly. I'm father of three. I've got three kids, a 22, 21, and a almost 10-year-old. So I'm still living the fatherhood dream. Married to the girl of my dreams, my second marriage. And man, I've been an entrepreneur for the better part of my life. I served in the Navy long ago, got out of the Navy, started a pizza restaurant, failed at the pizza restaurant, stayed in the restaurant business for a little while, went from there to real estate back in 2002. So I've been in some form of real estate ever since 2002. That led me to franchise ownership of a Keller Williams franchise. Those couple of things led me to real estate ownership and buying shopping centers, office buildings, things like that. And then one of the shopping centers we bought led me to laundromats. And so now laundromats are my primary business. We have 3 Laundry Luv locations, just started franchising, about to sign our first couple franchises and open our next 3 laundromats in the next probably 6 months. So that's the short version of a long journey.
Really hoping I would have somebody with experience on here, but sadly we got you instead, Ken. Gracious, man!
You're
oh man,
stuck with me.
It sounds like you've got obviously a joke there, but it sounds like a wealth of knowledge that we're going to be able to dig into. So I'm looking forward to digging into there. Obviously, you know me and the passion of being a dad. So I love the fact that that was like one of the first things you mentioned. So. We'll have to have that conversation over on the Biz Dad podcast for those of you who want to hear that portion of it. But over here, I mean, you mentioned Laundry Luv. You're starting to do some franchising now and pushing that out. You had a large path to get to that. How did you kind of decide to land on laundromats and say, hey, look, I really like this and I want to start franchising?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question. So because it's really interesting. I'm going to reverse to 2018. So in 2018, I had a very large real estate team running a really big real estate brokerage business. I was doing a little bit of real estate investing. I was launching I had my Keller Williams franchise. It had been open for a couple of years, but was just really still trying to launch and really get its legs underneath it, and me putting the right leadership team in place. And then I was launching a mobile app, which you and I have talked about before. I had a mobile app for a number of years, parent-to-child journaling. And I was launching that, and we had just come up with the idea for the laundromat we were building. So I had 4 distinct different businesses. And then I went on a mastermind, about a 12-person mastermind, got auctioned off at a One Life Fully Lived charity event with Jeff Hoffman. And so I got to go spend 12 hours in a room with Jeff Hoffman, which was just absolute gold that I got from that day. But the biggest takeaway I got from that was Jeff saying that, because I mean, this guy's done amazing things. If you don't know Jeff Hoffman, he was the creator of Priceline.com. He was actually the creator of the airline kiosk. So when you go to the airline and you go up to the little kiosk and print out your boarding pass and your luggage tickets. He created that idea 20 some odd years ago, because it used to be you had to wait in line and go, one by one, and he missed a flight. Anyway, it caused him to create this. Anyway, Jeff was just dropping wisdom bombs. But one of the things I realized that he had launched these major successful businesses, and he had been in a lot of different things. He's a Grammy Award winning producer. He's done a movies and all stuff. But what I realized, he did them all one at a time sequentially, and he was all in on the one venture, and then he would finish that to completion, whether or not he sold off the business or he left the business and let other people run it. And but he would totally go all into the next venture and then go all in on that. And my big takeaway from leaving there was like, wow, I got two brand new startups, one that I started 2 years ago, and I got a big real estate team that's growing that I'm really not that passionate about. Wow, what am I doing wrong that he's done right? And so all that said, it's taken me this many years to get through the mobile. I actually went all in on the mobile app business. I more or less shut down my real estate team. I found leadership to run in on the KW, but I had the laundromat business. So I was 1 foot in on the laundromat business and all in on the mobile app, and the mobile app didn't make it. So when that finally shut down, I said, okay, this is my time to pivot and go all in on the laundromat business. And so today, this is my primary business. This is what I do. I've got real estate interest but what we do is we buy shopping centers that are good for laundromats, and we put laundromats in them.
That makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah. And I love the concept of doing the one thing and going all in. Too many people get themselves spread out. And then it fails miserably. And then there's one thing that Ryan Pineda, somebody I used to listen to a lot more. I'm tapped out on who I can listen to at this point. But he had talked about how he always has all these new ideas for these new ventures, but he will not start a new venture unless he knows exactly the person who's going to run it. And if he doesn't have a person who's going to run it, he won't even touch it. Even if he knows it's a great idea, if he doesn't know who's going to run it, don't touch it. And I mean, I think that goes in line with kind of what you're saying is, hey, if have it, it's okay to have a bunch of different things, but man, oh man, if you have to focus on all of them, you're at a loss.
Then they're all going to be running at half speed. That's for sure. And some of them just might not work, or they're never going to realize what could have been realized out of these businesses. And so now that I've finally come full circle to Jeff's advice, things are really firing on all cylinders at the laundromat.
That's fantastic to hear. Yeah, and I think I was very sad when the app wasn't able to continue on, just because it was one of those things like, man, oh man, it was difficult for me to try to stay engaged with it just because of the day-to-day activities of being a dad anyways, plus running business. But I love the concept. So hopefully we can figure something out to make that happen again in the future, or at least encourage other people to have those journals with their kids. But
yeah, I do that every day, by the way.
Good.
Still.
Good.
Do you feel overwhelmed with mundane tasks that eat up your valuable time? It's time to reclaim your schedule and focus on what truly matters. Get your time back with elite remote talent without a time zone hassle. Delegate $10 an hour tasks to focus on more $1,000 an hour tasks. Schedule your free strategy call at 𝗺𝗷𝘀𝗀𝗃𝗀.io.
So I want to dig in a little bit more to this franchise, right? And how you, so you started the laundry business back in like 2018. You said you started doing that 2018, 2019, and now you're starting to franchise it. How did you kind of decide to pair buying these shopping centers with putting in the laundry facilities? Because I love the concept there, of owning the franchise and the real estate side. So where did that kind of come from, and how are you kind of expanding that now?
Well, buying a shopping center is what actually brought us into the laundromat business. So we're a partner of mine and I were buying a shopping center we might have bought it in 2017 or early 2018. And it had about 40% of the center was vacant. It was a 50,000 square foot center. About 40% was vacant, including a 6,000 square foot space on the end cap of the shopping center. And I ran into a laundromat guy at a real estate conference I was at, and I was trying to find tenants for the shopping center. And so I pitched the center to him. He said, let me review it and I'll get back to you here in a week or two. And so he calls me back. He said, Ken, this is like the perfect shopping center for a laundromat. I said, okay, well, tell me, why is that? So he kind of went over everything from the demographics, the mix that we had in a 1 and 2 mile radius, the number of renters that were out there, the number of older apartments that were out there, the traffic counts, the visibility. He was kind of just educating me on what they look for and why this was such a great location. I said, that's awesome. So what would you need, for a laundromat there? So, well, we need a 10-year lease, 3-5-year extensions. It's kind of walking through. I'm like, as a shopping center, I'm like, well, this sounds great. This is perfect. I'm like, well, here's a lease. Sign here, press hard. And what I come to realize was that he wasn't an operator. This is how little I knew nothing about the laundromat industry back then. So what he actually was, he was a equipment manufacturer's representative. And so he said, no, he said, it's not me. You need to find an operator. He introduced me to the local distributor. This is in Abilene, Texas. The distributor was in Dallas. And so the distributor's like, we don't know any operators, so I really can't help you. Don't know anyone looking out in Abilene. And so we kind of looked on our own for about 6 months, just trying to see, can we find a laundromat operator? And we couldn't. So my partner and I said, well, what if we became the operator? What if we decided to do this? And both of us were wise enough to know that we are both visionary starters. We are not integrators. And so we said, well, we need to go find our integrator. And so we went and partnered with another guy that I'd been wanting to be in business with for a long time. He was actually Army Ranger, West Point guy, just the best leader I've ever come across. And we ended up kind of tapping him on the shoulder, asking if he wanted to explore the opportunity with us. So we did. We explored for about a year, looking at that opportunity, and decided, okay, we're going to pull the trigger and do it. And anyway, long story, that's what got us into it. It made sense a lot, owning the real estate, having the tenant in there. We said, okay, if we're going to do this, let's rinse and repeat and go do this other, because we're real estate guys. We'll have a built-in tenant. I'd actually known a family that owned or I knew a lot of the key members of their team that owned the Family Video. And so they owned, I think, 700 different shopping centers, and Family Video was their tenant. They'd pop into each one of them, and then they'd have a couple of co-tenants. I thought that is such a smart real estate strategy. And so we said, all right, this is kind of a model we're going to follow as well.
So I would imagine, there's a part of this where I'm hearing what you're saying with the Family Video side. I love the concept. Obviously, we can look at what happened to Family Video. I mean, there's not a ton of those around anymore. So but you have it set up a little bit differently to where you are actually going to be the owner of both of these things, right? Where you don't have to worry about some massive tenant who all of a sudden shuts their doors and now all of your shopping centers are hurting. How did you kind of how are you choosing which now places to go? Because now you are spreading your risk, but also consolidating your risk at the same time, because you're relying on the shopping center and your business, Laundry Luv. So talk to me about that.
I'll say a couple of things. First, we start with Family Video. So yep, you're exactly. Family Video ends up dying. The whole video industry ends up dying. However, they had 750 shopping centers. So now those Family Videos are urgent care centers. They're all, you name it, they're different tenants that have gone in and replaced those 4,000 square foot boxes. So that's happened, and they owned all the real estate, which is a beautiful thing. For us, it's two things. When we can buy the real estate, we will buy the real estate. And that will sometimes be a single tenant location, sometimes be a multi-tenant location. But we're not letting the tail wag the dog on this one, because the laundromat itself is a very profitable venture. And so we want the laundromat to stand on its own. If we find a great piece of real estate, in fact, we're looking at one right now. It's amazing. It's in a shopping center. It's a grocery anchored shopping center. But we're not able to buy it. We tried, we asked, they're not a willing seller in there. So we will be a tenant, and we don't want to we have to own the real estate on it. If we're able to buy it, great. We'll look at buying it. If we're not, we'll be a tenant. If it underwrites well as the laundromat, we'll buy it and just be a tenant, be in there. As a tenant, though, we're always going to push to at least have a right of first refusal in our lease, so that if the owner does ever go to sell, we've got kind of first dibs on it.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal way to do it. Now, as you've been kind of growing all of this out, you mentioned before we started recording, you've had a VA for 12 years, right? That is an amazing accomplishment to have a VA, especially for folks who may be listening to think that, oh, this is just like a part-time temporary thing, or whatever. Like, now this can be a massively valuable member of your team. How has your team and your structure, as you have been kind of leading the changes in all of this, how has all of that changed over the past, 15 years that all of this has been going on? Yeah,
when I first hired my VA, I had the real estate business at the time and had a big real estate team, and I was looking for leverage. And this was when Daniel Ramsey was fairly new into my outdesk in building that business. And I knew Daniel through 𝗺𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀. And so I talked to him and said, hey, man, I'm looking to hire a VA. I think this is what you do. And so used their company, and I actually hired 2 VAs through their company. And in the first 30 days, one of them was clearly just on it. I mean, she was amazing on it. The other one, I couldn't even tell if she was online half the time. I'd send her a message. I don't remember. We were using some messaging tool at the time. It wasn't Slack, which we use now, but some messaging tool. And it'd be 30 minutes before she'd respond back to me. I'm like, are you even working? And so within 30 days, I fired one and kept the other. And her name is Melissa. And Melissa has been with me now the better part of 12 years. So she helped me to grow and systematize my real estate business. And then when it was the mobile app, she was helping me in the mobile app side of things. And now onto the laundromat. Melissa, my wife has a real estate group as well. And so Melissa helps manage my wife's side of the real estate and then helps me and just my overall organizational structure. Now I've hired a second VA who's my executive assistant now, and he manages all of my day-to-day, my inbox, my calendar, my graphic design. He does a lot of stuff for Laundry Luv in terms of graphic design and got some marketing stuff for us on Laundry Luv. And then within our Laundry Luv team, we've got a very disparate team. And like I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, my partner's in Austin, our corporate headquarters in Austin, and our stores are in West Texas. So Abilene and San Angelo is where our stores are. But in Laundry Luv, we've got a great leadership team in place. There's 5 of us on the leadership team. We now run on EOS, which has just been a game changer. That's brought our leadership team together so well. And then each of our leaders kind of has folks underneath them. So we're running on all cylinders these days.
Yeah, I love it. What did you used to run on? Did you ever have a system that you were running on before? You said you're running on EOS now, but you've had multiple businesses. Have you found other systems that you did that you were using and didn't like? And what were some of those things that you didn't like about them?
Look, I read Traction years ago, the EOS book. I think it's 2018 when I first read Traction. And like I've hired a couple, I've long since had business coaches. I hired one specifically for their organizational structure. Okay, the way that they organize business systems. And so I literally hired that coach for 2 years to help me organize my business structure and set it all up right. And that worked great. Then I moved on to another coach. I heard him on a podcast. He was amazing. Talked about how he had scaled his business using Google tools that he built from parts of EOS, parts of Strategic Coach, parts of like another group, and he just built all these Google tools. So I hired him to teach me his Google tools and teach me how to use that. And that's kind of how I was running things. So basically on his Google tools for a while. And it was great. It was kind of EOS-ish, except for I wasn't fully using all the tools, right? I was half-baked I was using a couple of them really, really well, but I wasn't using the full tools, and I didn't have my whole leadership team and everything using those tools. And so that's the failure. With EOS, we went all in. We hired the implementer. We're using all of the tools they've recommended to us. We follow the meeting cadence exactly as designed. For once, it's been a beautiful thing. I've stepped out of my own way and not tried to implement my own twist on something, which is my internal nature. I want my own twist on it. And said, you know what, just follow the process, use the proven set of tools and do that. And it's been the most beautiful thing that I've done.
Yeah, that is one of those, it's always difficult, especially if you're the visionary type, to not want to, but I just imagine this one thing. If I were to change these 2 things, how amazing it would work. And
that's exactly how my brain thinks. I think, this is mostly good, but what if we did this?
But if we did this, I can really see it fitting better with my business, and it's like,
yeah, and
it's so hard to do that.
It's stepping out of the way this time and just following the process. And it works so well. It actually feels like business is just easier. It really is. It's just easier following the process. I know my rocks. I pull up my EOS dashboard each day. I look at it. Okay, what progress am I going to make on these rocks each day? And I feel like I get double the amount done in about half the amount of time.
And is your integrator that Army Ranger you were talking about earlier?
And it's interesting because he and I both, I'm if you look at me on a disc, I'm a high C. So I'm very structured and organized, but my visionary is off the chart. And he actually has quite a bit of visionary properties in him, but his integrator is higher. So we kind of had this little debate when we were getting into it, who's visionary, who's integrator, because EOS will teach you there's only one, right? You got one in each one of those seats. And we said, Ken is more visionary aligned. He's such a good leader of people. So he's much more, but my my C is much higher than his C as far as that, but it's actually a great combination.
And I mean, when you grab a guy that's and you're former military, so you know that, but you grab a guy that's former military, especially Army, where it's like, no, like this is just what we're doing, and we're going to run through that wall no matter what. This is where we're going, and I'm going to be able to handle these orders and push it. When you build that personality into somebody, even if they are, a high C type of person, they can immediately turn that direction into a high D, manage things the way they need to be done, push them the way they need to be done, make sure that the structure's there, the SOPs are there, and they knock it out. So is he comfortable being able to, it sounds like he is, shapeshift himself a little bit to say, hey, this is what you need from me right now. We're just going to go charge through the wall?
Very much. Yeah, he is so good at what he does. In fact, so he actually wrote, there's a book here in my book stack called The Steady Leader. He's so good. He is a master of models. The guy is an absolute master of models. And he and I are both big readers. I bet both of us have probably read 300 books over the last 10 years each. Mm-hmm. And he takes those models and just distills them into lessons. And he actually sends them out in a weekly newsletter out to hundreds of people in a weekly newsletter, just distilling the lessons that he's taken out of these books. And then he took all of those lessons, or a lot of those lessons, and put them into his own book. And it's been great. It's great.
Just the fact that he's able to create emails and push them out is beyond what my patience level can even do. I hate sitting down to even draft those things. So good for him. I'm glad you found somebody to be able to knock that out. So as you're kind of managing the day-to-day, you've got your two VAs. One of them's your executive assistant. One who's been with you for 12 years. How do you parse out tasks to specifically the VAs to make sure that things are getting done? And what does the communication come back? Like, does the communication come back through those VAs and then to you, or how does that kind of work?
Well, no, that's a great question. And so every morning, we weren't always like this, but the system we're in right now, every morning, 8:45 a.m., we have a 15-minute morning huddle, and we follow the same format each morning. We get on each person, and it's me and my wife and our two VAs, and each person shares something they're grateful for, and we share our 3 big priorities for the day. Don't tell me the 27 things you need to get done. I want to know the 3 big priorities for the day. And then if there's anything we need help with, then we'll share, hey, I need your help with this. I need your help with that. Anything the VAs need help or assistance with, they'll share that. And that's it. We each go through that. Everyone knows where each other are. And I'll know from listening to their priorities, are they on the right track? Are they not? If they're not, I'll kind of course correct, hey, we need to really elevate this one for the day or that one for the day. And then we use Slack as a communication tool. So I've spent a great deal of time, with the assistance of AI. I've been a heavy user of AI in the last few years. And I really used some AI help to dial in my Slack channels really appropriately. And so we use Slack, the free version. So we don't use it as a long-term storage system. But for a communication tool, it's outstanding. So we use that to communicate back and forth throughout the day. And so it's usually one main meeting, and we use Zoom all the time as well. So I'd say those are probably 3 tools we use the most is Slack, Zoom, and we got our little morning huddles that we have every day, and keeps us on track.
And how long did it take you to kind of develop that system that works well for you guys?
We really started it about 3 years ago using that system, and it's worked out really. And it just refines it, like everything. It refines over time. But I'd heard of the morning huddles before, and we'd used them off and on. But I was like, I've really got to dial this in. And so it may have been from Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time book. I've certainly used a lot of the concept from his book into how I manage and deal with VAs. And I think it's a phenomenal book and resource for people if they haven't read that. Really. But the other thing we do, and again, I took this from Skylar, my partner in Laundry Luv. I said, what's your format when you talk to your weekly one-on-ones with VAs? So we have a weekly one-on-one with each of the VAs as well. My wife does it these days about 90% of the time. I'll do it 10%, but it's great. And I have the same series of about 12 questions we ask every week. And you would think, same series of 12 questions is going to get really monotonous. But it doesn't. Like, the conversations flow like conversation, or the questions flow like conversation. And it starts off with one of the most important questions. It's really asking, hey, how are you doing? And because if they're not aligned, if there's something going wrong in their family or their health, or going on there, then nothing else matters, right? That's the one question we'll dig into the whole time is just how can I support you because you're struggling right now. But usually they're not having, big internal struggles. And so then we'll keep on going down the other questions. And then part of those questions is outside of work. Okay, tell me what's going on outside of work, hobbies, recreation, health and wellness, what's going on there. And that has bonded us so close as a team. My gratitude, again, I said we share a gratitude every morning, one thing you're grateful for. And so often my gratitude is just for the people on that call. I truly am so grateful for the 4-person team we have. We get so much done. We're so effective and we love each other as family. It's really great.
So, I mean, I would assume that a couple of those things you just talked about are going to be on this list, but what would you say are some of the key things that you were able to keep a VA for 12 years, stay engaged, have those good conversations, they're wanting to stay with you, and any of your other employees as well, kind of fill that in how you see fit?
I think I've become a much, much better leader over time. In fact, I know I have a much better leader over time, and it's become more, I guess in a word, I would say it's love. I've genuinely become to love my people and truly care about them. And I think that's a big part of how it happens. But it's also, I'm engaging. I'm asking them. I try to find out really what's important in their lives and help them accomplish their goals. Is it important that their kids going to college? Is it they want to build a new house to do this? What are the goals that they want to achieve? And I pour into try to find out those goals, and I'm checking in on them. How are you doing on this? How are you doing on that? Where are we on your next thing? And that comes also from the weekly one-on-ones that we have. It's paying attention on the weekly one-on-ones. And then we do semi-annual reviews with everyone, letting them know where progress is. So I think in a word, I'd call it engagement overall. But it's also engagement with love. Yeah,
the engagement with love, I think, adds in that authenticity that is needed for that. I tend to come across rather inauthentic because me personally, I want to know those things, but it's almost a checklist in my brain. So I just hit the checklist and I move on, and that's just not going to be there. So how have you kind of adjusted your, you talked about you become a better leader, and that's part of it is being able to actually show that engagement and be able to take that in and follow up with people on that. Do you have a system that you use to make sure that you follow up with these folks when they do that? Obviously on a weekly call, that's going to help, but tracking on your own stuff to make sure, okay, their vision is still fitting inside of my vision and where we're going with this. How do you kind of literally on a day-to-day basis make sure that's happening?
A couple of things I'd say. First, much like you, and you say how you are, I'm a results guy. I'm a GSD, give me the results guy. And so in previous iterations of my leadership, I would sometimes step over the slowing down and being kindness and drawing out. And so how have I gotten better at that? Man, frankly, I've screwed it up in the past. I've learned. I've lost good people. I've pushed people away. I've done it wrong. And it wasn't I didn't like these people, but I was moving so fast that I wasn't paying attention to what really matters. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so some of it I slowed down. And then the other part on systems, it has to be systems dialed in to stay on top of it, at least for me. And so, yes, I have questions I ask. I have, the one thing I still use from those old forms, those Google forms I use, like this right here, literally have a daily checklist on things that I have. I had this, and this is the top quarter of the page I have. And on that page, I literally have notes to myself to check in on this or that, check in on that. And it's a reminder to me to check in. Then as another way on a system, I have something I created years ago that I use every day. It's called my top 25 list. And my top 25 list is actually, it started as a top 25. It's now a top 100. So I have 100 people on that list. And if you're on my top 25 of the 100, you are going to hear from me every single month. You're gonna get a phone call, a text, a voice call. You're gonna see me face to face. It's systematic, and I pull up that list every week, and I'm looking. Okay, who have I not talked to this month? Who have I not seen? So I'm gonna book a lunch with you. I'm gonna go see you. It's a system on my top 25 is every month. If you're my next 75 on my top 100, you're gonna hear from me at least once per quarter. And so I'm literally going through this list. So every quarter, I'm going to send you a note, a text, a phone call, a video call, something you're going to hear from every quarter. So I stay in touch because I have to be systematic. Otherwise, these people that were super important in my life, I may go, it's not an exaggeration, 2 or 3 years without talking to someone. And I look up and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't talked to this person in 2 years. So if I have them on this list, I'm going to talk to them, at least make an effort to talk to them every single quarter.
I love that. Yeah. And as a, I go back to it, but as a military guy bouncing around the world my whole life, as a military brat turned military guy, it is not abnormal for me at all to go 3 years without talking to somebody. And then I talk to him and it's like it was just yesterday, but man, oh man, having that intention to be able to just say, hey, like I haven't talked to this guy this month. I'm going to send him a message. I haven't talked to this gal this month. I'm going to send her a message. Like I love the intentionality behind that. How do you make sure that the messages that you're sending, because this, I mean, if somebody's hearing this, it can go for your employees, this can go for your friends, this can go for anybody. How do you make sure that the messages you're sending, the interactions you're having, stay authentic when you know that you're hitting a check mark on that? How do you make sure that you're staying engaged in a authentic way and not just saying, oh, well, I haven't talked to you in a month, I hope you're doing well?
Yeah. Well, look, if you're on my top 25 and I'm talking to you every month, there's a relationship. Okay. It's either you're one of my dearest friends, you're one of my business partners. I've known you're one of my previous business partners that I just care about and I want to stay in. So there's a relationship. It's pretty easy to be authentic with all of those people. If you're on my next list on the top 75, it's pretty easy for me once a quarter to be like, man, I was just thinking about you. Literally, I just want to pick up the phone, call you, and it's not a lie. If I'm looking at you on this piece of paper, I am thinking about you, and I literally am going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call you, or it might be like, hey, I knew. Man, I hadn't talked to you. Your kid's like going into high school now. Tell me what's going on. It's just an update. And I try not to make it any agenda. And sometimes I'm sending them something. Like, again, I sent everyone on that book, once a year or so, I'll buy 100 copies of a book and I'll send them to everyone on that list. And I'm like, hey, I read this. It really made a huge impact on my life. I thought it might for you too. And so I'll do something like that. But it's just a system for me to stay intentional and try to think through it.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think that it makes a lot of sense. It's something that I may have to take away. If nobody else listening does, I may have to take that away. I just got to do it. As you're saying that, I'm like, man, I don't even know if I can put 5 people on that list, but I got to put 50. Whoo, man.
I guarantee you can put 25. So I tell people to start with 25. And look, for sometimes, and I used to tell people this in the real estate business when you're sometimes like, who do you want to know? Who would you like to know that maybe could be your mentor, that could be this or that ever? And so at first, maybe it's people you want to get in a relationship with. And people move, I will say this, people move in and out of the list.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a one-way relationship. If I've reached out to you 17 times and you haven't reached out to me once, I might move you off the list.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You're like, okay, I feel like this is a one-way road, and when we connect, we'll connect. But it's oftentimes it's not. So
no, I appreciate that. It's a good reminder for me to jump on that for sure. I thank you much for that, Ken. Well, Ken, it's been awesome kind of learning a little bit about all the different things you have going on, and I love the concept. I really love the idea of buying the, I've always wanted strip malls. I think that's a great idea to get those types of things, but then to combine it with the business, absolutely love it. If folks are hearing this and they're like, man, I want a Laundry Luv location. I love the concept that they have going on. Maybe they already own a strip center and they want to put one of those Laundry Luv locations in there. What's the best way for folks to reach out to you and learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, a couple ways. For Laundry Luv, if you want to learn more about like we're literally teaching people everything we've learned over these 6-7 years now on how to go launch your business, start it up, run it with a proper P&L, how to do it right. So Laundry Luv, LUV, franchise.com is our franchise website. So either laundryluv.com if you just want to go see a little bit more about our Laundry Luv, and laundryluvfranchise.com. You can hit me there and send me a message. I'll get you details on the franchise and what it's all about and anything you need to know. And then you can learn more. If you just go to KenWimberly.com, it's kind of like a living bio for me. So you can get all my contacts and ways to get in touch with me at Ken, WIMBERLY.com.
I love it, Ken. It was great to have you on here. I thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I love the systems you have going on, the intentionality you're putting behind it, the way you've kind of set up your leadership team. I really appreciate you sharing all the details on that. So everybody listening, if you like what you heard, please like and subscribe. Let us know what your thoughts are. Comment below. Share this with somebody that you think is going to get something out of it. And if you disagree with something, please, we'll put it in there as well. Let's have a conversation about why you're wrong and Ken's right. I mean, why
Ken's
let's
wrong.
have a conversation about how things were going. That's what I meant to say. Typo, sorry. But thank you, Ken. Thank you again, everybody, for listening. And I look forward to seeing everybody on the next show.
Thanks, Adam.